had a friend who was very involved with adoptions internationally, and we had spoken to her before our third child was born about adopting from Haiti, and then we called her up again when it came time for us to adopt and discussed Haiti with her and really felt that this was the right direction for us to go. And so we felt that it would be in the child's best interest to adopt a sibling group, to adopt 2 children, and we loved the idea of having more children.
We received an email from the orphanage. There were 4 pictures attached to it. One individually with the kids and a couple of them together.
We immediately knew that these were the children that we wanted, and we didn't look at any other pictures. We called our parents and we cried with those pictures. We were so excited and began showing them to the children instantly and began just passing them back and forth between the 2 of us, emailing them to friends. And we called the adoption agency obviously right away and said, "This is them, we'll take them, how soon can we meet them?" We received a phone call in the middle of August, so just a couple of weeks later, that she had progressed to pneumonia and that she was being hospitalized for that. A couple of days later, we got the wonderful news that she had gained some weight, that she was doing well, that the pneumonia was under control, and that hopefully she would be going home by the end of the week. Unfortunately, that did not happen. The day she was scheduled to go home, she was also given a 200-fold overdose, and she went into toxic convulsions, shock, and received a blood transfusion, and then went into a coma. So I went down to Haiti to see for myself, and when I walked into that room, she was completely unresponsive, stiff as could be, laying in a crib, just, I thought that rigor mortis had set in because she was so stiff, I couldn't move her. Even her little fingers, you simply could not get fingers or a shoulder joint, nothing would move. She was 6 pounds, 15 months old. She was not clean. She had huge sores on her head and on her back and on her legs. There were flies crawling on her. The room smelled horrible, and she was completely unresponsive. And I looked at her and I said, "Okay, God, I understand. You can let her go." I had been praying that I could hold her one last time, that she would live through this, that we would be granted a miracle of recovery, but bare minimum that I get to hold her and see her again. And I was not allowed to hold her, but I was allowed to look at her, and the condition that her body was in, I thought that death would be kinder. My next thought was, if she wants to stay, then I will do everything I can to take care of her.
Her eyes, when she first got home, were constantly rolled up into the back of her head. But as she got her weight up and she was eating, her eyes came down. Yeah. She started to react to us, and it was really quite nice.
Yeah, yeah. She was still very stiff, but she had, her head circumference had increased phenomenally, and so they felt that her brain was doing all right, and we still had high hopes that she would regain a lot of her developmental abilities. When Tabitha turned 3, she needed to transition from the infants and toddler program to other forms of therapy. We had not been very satisfied with her other care at that time and felt that it was the perfect time to make another change in pediatricians and other physicians as well. When we decided to make that change, I called all my girlfriends and said, "Who do you go to?" and interviewed about 3 or 4 different physicians. And one of them was Stacy Townsend at the Saint Al's Health Plaza in Eagle, who had been recommended by a friend. And we noticed a significant and immediate difference in their office. They touched Tabitha. They spoke to Tabitha. They didn't tell me to put her in a home. They instantly were interested in her story, but interested in her as an individual and how they could help. That very first appointment, Dr. Townsend noticed that Tabitha had a heart murmur, that her hip was out of socket, and a couple of other things, and we ended up that very day transferring the other 4 children to that same physician, and we've been very happy with her. Dr. Townsend referred us to Dr. Schilt to take care of Tabitha's hip, and referred us to Dr. Cadian and said that he was a rehabilitation physician. We thought her spasticity, or tightness as we had always referred to it, was because she had lain in a hospital crib for a month with no one moving her limbs. We were very surprised to find out that no, in fact, this was part of the brain injury, that her body would always be this tight, that we could not get rid of this tightness just by moving her around a lot or loosening her muscles up through physical therapy. We were thrilled when we found out that this was something that could be conquered by medication. We had been a year and a half trying to take care of the spasticity the old-fashioned way, and it just wasn't working. And then we remembered that we had been referred to Dr. Cadian. Dr. Schilt encouraged us to keep that appointment as well. And when we went and saw him, we began to feel the very first hope we had for her to regain further development and gain further skills. We were a little hesitant to try more baclofen, but we had the baclofen trial where they inject her spine with a needle with a very large dose of baclofen, and the result was miraculous. She was cooing and smiling, and we had more verbal output from her in that 2 hours than we'd ever heard in her whole life. A month later, she had the baclofen pump implanted, and she is so much more comfortable, so much happier, that we almost don't care if she gets any better, because she's so much better than what she was, that it's made such a huge difference on us and on our other children. She's just a very, very happy child now. When we first brought Tabitha home, our first thought those first few days was that we were going to give her a comfortable death and let her siblings meet her. 2 years later, almost 3 years now, we have much higher expectations, and we're seeing them fulfilled. She is happy. She is comfortable. She recognizes us. She knows that we care for her. She knows that when she's home. She knows when she's not at home. She knows when Daddy comes home, she has a special smile and turns to him different than the rest of us. She knows her sisters. She knows her brothers. And she knows that she's loved and she's taken care of. Tabitha has made a real difference in all of our lives, but we still don't know how long we're going to have her. Her brain has been severely damaged, and it affects all of her body and all of what she can do. Some ladies at our church were putting together these little stones that you see everywhere with the vinyl lettering on them, and I asked specifically that one be made that say, "Each day is a gift." I tied a little bow around it, and it sits on her dresser in her bedroom, reminding me that each and every day with my daughter and with all of my children and my husband is a gift. Recently, our oldest son came to us, and he said, "Mom, I know why Tabitha's always happy." I said, "Why is that, Stephen?" He says, "Because she has what really matters. She has us."